Welcome, all you sinners and sodomites, to episode 19 of Bible Stories for Atheists. I have to confess, she is Lynn's.
I have to confess, he is Josh.
And we are your guides to the spiritually sparse stories, literally, littering the Bible. In this episode, we are digging into, guess what? More Jesus.
More Jesus.
More Jesus.
More. The
Might be
mostest
surprising.
Jesus.
Yes, we're going to get a quote-unquote confession from Peter.
A little hint in our intro there.
Yeah.
Of the level of the confession that
Right.
we get.
Yeah. Jesus gets transfigured.
Yeah.
And
we figure out how the Bible is directly tied to Star Wars.
yeah. Everybody always thought they inspired Star Wars from the Bible. It turns out the Bible was
true.
actually inspired by Star Wars.
In some sort of time travel scenario.
Yeah. We get another demon possession. We talk about taxes, so that's a lot of fun. And then we find out that there's a whole bunch of other disciples going out.
Maybe.
It sounds like.
In one story. Not.
Yeah, in one gospel, we find out
more.
about these people.
He's got, Jesus he's growing his entourage.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, and they all sound smarter than the original 12.
Yeah. I feel like that's the exact plot of the actual show, Entourage.
Yeah. Jesus gets real pissed at his people in this episode.
I mean, he's
got some anger management issues.
He thinks he's smarter than everyone else. I mean, I guess it's probably true.
Maybe. He seems to ask a lot of questions.
For a guy that knows everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I think that's kind of what's coming up in this episode. So hope you guys stick around to hear it.
It would be really weird if they just listened to this intro, which they might because it's
they're
not
like,
our best work.
Got it.
And they're like, I'm just gonna not keep going.
Yeah. Can you switch over to Smartless? Strap in, strap on for episode 19. I lost it.
Jesus, Bleach.
Okay.
Why did you ask for some if you don't like it?
That's all right.
You can make that face every single time.
Mm-hmm.
We could have gotten you we have so much alcohol in the fridge.
Yeah.
And liquor.
Yeah.
There's a lot of booze in this house.
Yeah.
For a couple that doesn't drink that often, we have a lot of booze.
Right. Yeah, I definitely don't drink almost ever.
I mean, I just drink significantly less than I used to.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jesus, for weed.
Yeah. They really need to update that sacrament to...
Thank you, dear baby Jesus.
Like, if bread is his body and wine is his blood, what's the weed? His hair?
Ew. We need to make a piece of art that has the outline of the body made of bread and the veins made out of wine.
Oh, okay.
And his hair made out of weed.
Yeah.
All of his hair.
Yeah.
You know what
all
I
of his
mean?
hair. Yeah.
I mean,
he's probably hairy.
Rocking a 70s bush for sure back then.
Right. Yeah.
Men could walk around naked and you wouldn't even know.
Like a 70s
AD. You wouldn't see their penis because of the bush.
Yeah.
A giant bush.
Right. Yeah. And even perfected scissor technology at that point.
No, it probably hung down to their knees, right?
Yeah.
How does that work if you just let pubic hair just keep going forever?
Yeah, it turns into dreadlocks. Not sure which one's the penis.
Gross. Ew. Yeah. Icky. Maybe that's why there were rules against premarital sex back then, because really it just grossed everybody out. And then they had to like make it so that you had to do it when you were married in order.
You had to have sex
in order to consummate the marriage, right?
Right.
I
so
mean,
nobody wanted to have sex back then, is what you're thinking?
No, because it was gross.
Okay.
They're all dirty and yucky.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah.
Except for gross, pervy men who don't care.
Right. Which was pretty much all of them,
All
probably.
of them. Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably only within the last few decades that women have actually wanted to have sex.
Yeah. Once men's grooming became fashionable.
Yeah.
Guys finally realized that not to be gross. That's how you really get the ladies.
Yeah.
Just bathe, groom, trim.
Don't let dreadlocks hang
we
from your
ask
crotch.
for so little.
Yeah.
You know, just general hygiene and like pretty okay attitude.
Yeah.
That's all.
Just a little bit of hygiene and don't rape us.
Yeah. Don't be dicks.
Yeah.
Clean and not a dick. So all these incels out there just need to fucking get their shit together and bathe and not be dicks.
Right.
I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
They're complaining about not being able to get women.
Yeah.
And that women fucking use makeup to trick men into thinking women are more attractive than what they are. But really, we just want you guys to bathe and not be dicks. Honestly.
It's low standards, but they still can't get there, can they?
No. I just can't wrap my head around like a guy that's like, the problem is the reason why I can't get women is because of women.
It's because they have too many choices. They have too many options.
Where women are going for attractive men who aren't nice because women are superficial. And, yeah, some of us are.
It's, you know what?
But like, I wouldn't want to be with a really attractive dude. You know why? I mean, listen, that sounded like an insult.
Yeah.
But I'm talking like Chris Hemsworth here.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
I love you a lot and I do find you very attractive, but let's be realistic. You're not Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
I'm not whatever woman you find attractive. Who's not me.
Claire Danes.
Sure. I'm not Claire Danes.
Wait, no. Claire Danes is not. I was going to say Kathy Bates.
Oh.
No.
Maybe.
I was like, you took that really well. And I was like, oh, wait, no. Claire Danes is Juliet.
Yes. That's okay. Anyway.
Yeah, so that's an intro. So previously on BSFA. Jesus walked on water.
Jesus walked. That's a song, right?
I mean, there's a Kanye song.
Walked. No.
There's a Jesus walks with me, something like that.
A Kanye song?
Yeah.
Yeezy or whatever he calls himself now. Yeezus.
Yay. He calls himself Yay now.
Yay.
Who gives a shit? I'm just anyway. So Jesus walks on water.
Yep.
There was talking about the bread of life.
Yep.
There's more healings, which are always fun. Jesus getting real racist with that non-Jewish lady, basically comparing all non-Jewish people to dogs.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, one thing looking back on it, I thought was kind of interesting about that one is how many times we've come across verses where it's like, I'm not just here for the Jewish people.
Right.
But then you get to that and he's like, yeah, I'm just here for the Jewish people.
Yeah. Well, it was written by people who were probably racist.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We also had when Jesus fed 5,000 people, and then in an eerily similar story,
4,000
feeds
people.
4,000 more people.
Less impressive when you do the 5 first.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's kind of a step down.
All right, get it. We get it, Jesus. You can feed a lot of people.
And then he fed 3,000.
Yeah.
Then he fed 2,000. No. And then
he had the Last Supper, and there was only like 12 of them.
Yeah.
That was the last time he fed people.
Right. And then we finished off the episode with a warning from Jesus about yeast, which apparently is corruption. Nobody, I guess, tastes any heed of the yeast corruption in Christianity these days. So
no. Or any corruption in general.
Yeah, or any yeast in general.
Or Kanye. Maybe it was just... Maybe
that's his next name.
Yeah.
Yeastus.
Yeast. Just yeast.
Yeah.
It really was just a very
prolific
warning.
Doesn't he have a kid named East?
Yeah.
East, West?
Northeast.
No, it's Northwest.
Northwest.
It'd be
it's
Northwest.
North. Yeah.
Oh, but they don't. I thought they had an East too.
I haven't
West.
kept track of his children with.
Maybe that's their middle name. Northeast West.
Northeast West. Northeast Southwest.
It's got a hyphenate middle name.
It's so stupid.
Or a hyphenate last
would you
name.
Do that to a child. That's child abuse.
Yeah.
Poor kid. He doesn't care. That kid's gonna be rich until he dies.
That kid's not going to know that there are people out there with names that aren't directions.
Right. Except for its siblings. I'm pretty sure it has a couple siblings. But
yeah. Anyway, so that was previously. So
we really got off on a tangent.
Yeah.
There. Sorry.
This is going to be a long one. Strap in, folks.
I'm easily distracted today.
Yeah. So first thing we get into is Peter's confession.
Peter's confession.
Yes.
Oh, what is he confess?
As in Simon Peter.
The one that he renamed Peter.
Yeah, we're actually going to get to his naming.
Oh, this is when they changed his name from Simon to Peter?
Apparently, yeah.
Okay.
So Mark's version goes like, and by the way, this is Matthew 16, 13 through 23, Mark 8, 27 through 33, and Luke 9, 18 through 22. Mark's version goes like this. Jesus and his disciples went on to the villages around Caesarea Philippi.
Okay.
Philippi?
I think Philippi sounds right.
I think Flippy sounds right.
There's Philippi is a female name that I've heard before.
I think it is Philippi. On the way, he asked them, "Who do people say I am?"
Okay. So he's fishing.
For compliments.
Or like who to take out.
Who to take out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like who's talking shit.
I see.
Gossip. He's asking for gossip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They reply, some say John the Baptist, which is weird because he just died, and I'm not even sure if he died yet.
Some people think Jesus was John the Baptist.
Yeah, like they were alive at the same time. People were stupid.
I mean, it was all people who were like, you've never seen him in the same place before. Yeah. Like Clark Kent.
He just took off his glasses.
It just goes to show you that conspiracy theories are like from the original humans on.
Yeah.
Conspiracy theories were a thing.
Right. Yeah. Some say John the Baptist, others say Elijah. And we're getting into this a little. I need to do some research on this, but I don't remember ever seeing anything in the Old Testament saying prophesying the return of Elijah, who is a prophet. But they seem to be thinking there is going to be this return. And
okay.
They kind of get into it in a little bit, and still others, one of the prophets. They think so. Some others think he's one of the prophets.
Just an ambiguous.
Yep.
One of the prophets. So
right.
Either two very specific people or just anyone.
Any of those other prophets that nobody really knows the names of.
John the Baptist is my favorite one.
It's all those Bible verses that nobody pays attention, or those Bible books that nobody pays attention to. But what about you? He asked. Who do you say I am? Peter answered, you are the Messiah. Jesus warned them not to tell anyone about him.
So, okay, because our timelines are skewed here, right?
Yeah.
Because we're following John.
Yeah.
Arbitrarily.
No, we're following Luke arbitrarily.
Okay, we're following Luke arbitrarily. So these other ones are hopping back and forth on their timelines to line up with.
Exactly.
So is he telling them not to tell anybody that he's the Messiah after he's done all of this other shit? Like healed people and fed people and walked on water. Like, is he like, don't tell anybody?
Yeah.
But everybody knows already?
So this is from Mark 8. So he's done a bunch of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's from Luke 9. So he then began to teach them that the Son of Man must suffer many things and be rejected by the elders, the chief priests, and the teachers of the law, and that he must be killed, and after 3 days, rise again.
Oh.
He spoke plainly about this, and Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. But when Jesus turned and looked at his disciples, he rebuked Peter. Get behind me, Satan, he said.
Oh my gosh, that's where that comes.
Get thee behind me?
Yeah.
Get behind me, Satan, he said. You do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns.
So he legit was like, you're being Satan right now.
Yeah. Stop being Satan.
Oh my gosh, you're so Satan right now.
You're such a Satan sometimes.
I hate it. Get thee behind me, Satan.
Simon.
Oh, sorry, I mispronounced it.
Yeah. Your name sounds too much like Satan. I'm going to change your name.
Oh my gosh, this is the only way it happened now.
Yeah. So Luke's version is pretty much the same. It's just shorter.
Okay.
That Matthew's version, so he is pretty much similar, but then it veers off a little bit. But what about you? He asked. Who do you say I am? Simon Peter answered, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. Jesus replied, blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for this is not revealed to you by flesh and blood, but by my Father in heaven. And I tell you that you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven.
What does that mean?
Then he ordered his disciples not to tell anyone that he was the Messiah.
Okay, so he doesn't call him Satan in this version, or did he? And then this is an add-on.
So this is where Peter apparently gets his. I'm just going to go through my other notes here. Okay. So this is where Peter apparently gets his name. Jesus is talking him up and everything in this, but he's the one who loses his faith when he's walking on water.
Right.
During that whole thing. He also is going to end up rejecting Jesus 3 times when Jesus is getting crucified.
Okay.
So it's an interesting thing about this story that, he's saying on this rock, I will build my church. And he's one of the least faithful of the disciples.
Does he mean Peter's the rock? Simon Peter?
Yeah.
Simon
Peter apparently means rock, or at least that's what.
Well, saltpeter, right? Saltpeter is I think a type of rock.
Right. It might be. I don't know. And then there is also a get thee behind me, Satan bit at the end. And that's pretty much the same. So what's funny too then is right immediately after that, he gets rebuked by Jesus.
Right.
With the whole get thee behind me, Satan.
After he says this.
Yeah.
They have a very confusing relationship.
Yeah,
I wonder if the other disciples are like,
get a room.
This again. Always with the back and forth with these two.
Yeah.
You said this is Peter's confession.
Yeah, so I guess the reason why they call it confession, and that's the term in the Bible and stuff like that, is him confessing that you are the Messiah. Which is not really a confession.
No, it's me. It's like me saying you are Josh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey Josh, did you know that you're Josh?
Right. Yeah.
I'm confessing this to you.
Yeah. I have to confess something. You are Lindsay.
Oh my God. I had no idea.
So yeah, I don't know why they call it confession, but.
And at no point was Simon Peter. Do they actually say Simon Peter in there? Or did you just say Simon Peter?
In Matthew's version, they actually call him Simon Peter.
Okay.
In the narration.
I wonder if Peter is his middle name.
I don't know.
Or last name?
Jesus at this point is saying, and I tell you that you are Peter.
Okay.
And
well, I guess
Simon's
if Peter means rock.
No, Simon.
It kind of makes sense the way he says it, though, because he's like, this is the rock that I will build my temple on, meaning you're the foundation. You're going to be the foundation of my church.
Yeah.
I guess.
According to the movie Dogma, he is the first pope.
Peter
is. So. And this is the line, if you are a fan of the film Dogma, this is the line that they talk about that allows them to enter into the doorway and get forgiven is because of this verse, it says, I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. Whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. So whatever the Pope says goes
right
in heaven and on earth. And that's how they end up being able to get forgiven in that movie.
Right. Because of the Pope declared like a day of
anybody who goes through that doorway on that day would automatically be forgiven without having to just go in and give confession, which is what the alternative would be.
Sure. Okay.
I don't know why they couldn't just go in and do confession.
Well, they were angels.
So
an angel can't confess to a mortal.
Is that a rule?
I mean,
is that written down somewhere?
It is true now.
Yeah.
I said it.
Yeah.
I think that's
and
how
so
this
it is bound
works.
on earth.
So what you bind on earth is bound in heaven.
Yeah.
So what you say goes on earth will also be a rule in heaven.
Apparently. Yeah.
And what you loose
Yeah.
on earth will also be loosed in heaven.
One way you could interpret that is saying anything you forbid on earth is forbidden in heaven. Anything you allow on earth is allowed in heaven. Which is not good when it comes to the whole, pedophilia thing in the church.
Oh, yeah. God.
But
do you think that
heaven got really weird?
Those rules were for like souls, like human souls only? Or do you think like Peter was setting rules for angels? And do you think the angels were upset by that?
I think Peter was setting rules for angels. That would be interesting.
I told you my questions were going to get weird today.
Yeah, it was out there. I can genuinely say I never thought of that question.
Because we know there's a hierarchy in heaven. It's
of angels?
Of everyone. Remember? Because you can be lesser in heaven.
Yeah, what is it? First in heaven?
Yeah.
Or the most in heaven?
Yeah.
Or least?
Yeah. And then angels, right? There is a hierarchy of angels.
Yeah.
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
So
maybe Peter set up the hierarchy.
I would like to know. I wonder if there's something out there that specifically goes into like if Peter actually did anything.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so. Like there might be in the further books of the New Testament.
Okay.
Because I do think, if I remember correctly, there's a 1st and 2nd Peter, which in theory would have been written by him, but
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Is he writing down as he's doing all this walking around too?
Yeah, I don't know.
If that book does not include like Jesus changed my name today chapter, then I'm not going to believe any of it.
Said I looked like a dick.
And then he
changed my name to Peter.
And then he called me Satan. And cried at night.
Yeah. I thought it was going really well when he said that blessed are me. Blessed are me.
Is his dad Jonah from Jonah and the Whale?
No, that's much longer
Jonah.
before any of this. But that's Peter's confession. Conditions of discipleship. So this is a lot of fun. Matthew 16, 24 through 28. Mark 8, 34 to Mark 9, 1. Luke 9, 23 through 27. And John 12 through 12, 25. Just one verse in John. Mark's version goes like this. Then he called the crowd to him with his disciples and said, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross, foreshadowing, and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it. But whoever loses their life for me and for the gospel, who knows what that is at this point, will save it. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? If anyone is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, the Son of Man will be ashamed of them when he comes in his Father's glory with the holy angels. So we've established many times that Jesus did not have perfect knowledge.
Right.
And yet he's making these predictions about not that just that he's going to die, but how he's going to die, like with the cross thing,
Well, he's saying that they have to take up their cross.
Yeah. But I mean,
Their cross to bear. Cross to bear didn't, well, I mean, the Romans were already crucifying people at this point.
Maybe he just had a lucky guess that was how he was going to go.
Well, if you logically think things through, he knows that people are trying to kill him. And he knows the likely people to kill him would be the Romans. And the popular way to kill people back then was through crucifixion. But also, what?
Do you think that...
Uh-oh.
Do you think, like, as they were about to, like, hammer...
He's like, I knew it!
Do you think he was like, nailed it?
Oh, man.
Ow! Still feels good to be right. Yeah. No, so like that's the thing that's interesting for me. This is like in inconsistency in his knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So he does not have perfect knowledge, and we'll see he still doesn't have perfect knowledge, but yet he's able to make these predictions and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's almost like somebody wrote it after all of it already happened.
Exactly.
But so he's saying that to be his disciple, you basically have to be a Jesus sycophant, right? Like you have to give up all of your life and your wants and family and all that shit and just be a Jesus groupie.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be kind of the theme of this episode, I think.
Jesus groupies?
Yeah. Like having to do that. And really, we've seen that before. Like the parables were pretty much all, it was just, that was the moral of all of the stories was, be a Christian. That's it. It'd be nice if it was like, don't be sexist, don't be racist, but they're not, it's all about just be a Christian.
Be a Christian. Believe in Jesus.
Yeah. But yeah, just to call it out, like he didn't know who in the crowd touched him when the woman who was having the 12-year period was suddenly healed. He didn't know how long the invalid in the that pool at Bethsaida, I think it was, the one that he healed there. He didn't know how long the guy had been disabled.
Right.
So he doesn't have perfect knowledge. And then it ends with this. And he said to them, truly, I tell you, some who are standing here will not taste death before they see that the kingdom of God has come with power. The end times are going to come before the people standing there.
Oh, he was wrong there.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot.
Again.
A lot wrong.
Imperfect knowledge.
Right.
Maybe
he considers his own death the end time.
I will also call out, I talked about this in the last episode or the episode before that, apocalyptic cult.
Oh,
this
for
was
sure.
An apocalyptic cult.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole chapter dedicated to the end of the world.
A book of the Bible, yeah.
Whatever.
Revelation, yeah. There's two, actually. There's actually two. There's one in the Old Testament as well.
Is there?
Yeah.
I don't like that. So the Bible is a book, and then there's books inside of the book. Or were there ever these books, were these books separate and somebody put them together?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the Bible is not a book. It's a
collection of
books.
Yeah. Collection of writings.
Yeah. The church is never really clear on that to people who aren't like up the Bible's butt. I would have never considered it just a collection of books.
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And then each book is broken up into its own chapters, which are like
paragraphs.
They're like a page or so,
Are they?
They can be. Some are longer, some are shorter.
I thought each little number was a chapter.
Each big number is a chapter. The little numbers are verses.
Oh.
Those are like one or two sentences.
No wonder nobody likes reading this stupid thing. It's so convoluted.
I mean, it is. It totally is. What's really fucked up is situations like this too, where it's like there's Mark's version here is chapter 8:34 through Mark 9 verse 1. So it's the end, like for this story, it's the end of the 8th chapter, and then it goes into the start of the 9th chapter. Like that one extra verse is at the start of the 9th chapter.
Not
arbitrarily
how works.
Yeah, they like this was set up arbitrarily by a group, not even arbitrarily. Like I'm sure they did their best at the time, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago. They figured out like, all right, we're going to come up with numbering system for all this stuff.
Okay.
And they just did not do a great job
see.
of it. But now that's tradition. So therefore,
Right.
it's God's will, I guess. So anyway,
God can't count. We've already proved that.
we know that. We know that much. So that was Mark's version. Matthew's version is pretty similar, but there is this kind of wedged in there. For the Son of Man is going to come in his Father's glory with his angels, and then he will reward each person according to what they have done. So this is interesting because there's this whole debate in Christianity about faith or faith plus works, like for salvation, right?
Okay, so like
Catholicism is faith plus works because you have to not only have faith, you have to also confess.
Oh yeah, you have to do a lot of things.
Right.
Right.
Whereas evangelicals believe you just need faith. If you believe in Jesus, you're going to heaven.
Oh.
Yeah.
If you just believe in Jesus, you're going to heaven?
Believe in Jesus. Yep, that's it.
It doesn't matter what you do in your life. You just have to believe in Jesus.
Just believe in Jesus.
So you could be a serial killer, and if you believe in Jesus, you're going to heaven?
Well, Christians aren't serial killers.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Except BTK was a fucking member of his church, and that's how they figured out who he was.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the argument to it is, he's not a real Christian then.
Okay. But he believed in Jesus.
Yeah. Well, obviously not really. I know.
So frustrating.
I know. It's a fucked up mentality.
How can you presume to know what's in somebody's head?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, he literally bound, tortured, and killed women, and also was a deacon in his fucking church.
Right. There was that family, that really nutso family, that they found a few years back where they had like the kids all bound up and stuff, and that family was fucking crazy
religious. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to say California.
Yeah. Because they never went to school. Right. That was the big thing is like.
Yeah. They never went to school.
Yeah.
They would just go outside for like an hour or something like that and stand in the yard. It was really fucking
creepy.
Fucking weird.
You know?
Yeah. And I feel bad for them. Like, it's horrible, but they were religious, a lot of nutso religious folks out there. Anyway, personally, I think you're not really a Christian unless you do good things with your life.
Well, Why the fuck would if there were a God and Jesus, which I guess technically is the same person, why would you want like the whole point of hell is to put people there?
Yeah.
I mean, why would you? That's fucked up. So like Gandhi, who didn't believe in Christian God, would be in hell.
Yeah.
According to this theory.
Oh, yeah.
And BTK would be in heaven.
Yeah.
Does nobody see how fucked up that is?
Again, though, Christians aren't serial killers. The fact that he killed people says he wasn't a Christian.
Okay. All right. Catholic priests that molest children.
Yeah. Well, most of them probably not. No, Catholics aren't going to heaven at all.
Oh, no. It is a subset of Christianity.
Yeah, but not really. Not when you're an evangelical.
Oh gosh.
No, because Catholics.
My brain hurts from those aerobics, those gymnastics, those mental gymnastics. I don't know why I use the word aerobics. Weird.
I mean, it is a workout.
The mental gymnastics you have to do, like just me trying to follow that frame of mind is tiring. Like,
oh yeah, I know. I lived in it for a long time. Explains a lot about me. Like when it comes to the Catholic Church, a lot of evangelicals, I would imagine, at least in my day, they would have looked at it like, yeah, they're polytheists and all that kind of stuff. Catholics are and they worship the Pope. I
mean, they don't worship the Pope. They just believe he's the mouth of God.
Yeah. No,
until he says something like it's okay for gay marriage, and then Catholics are like, well, maybe not the Pope.
Yeah. Not this one.
Right.
Not my Pope. Oh! Gross. Sorry, I mean, bless you.
Yeah, that demon's trying to escape.
Yeah. You gotta get it back in there by saying bless you. Then Luke's version also has this in there. Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me, which is an interesting idea. So that kind of, changes the perspective of what that means, I think, where it's like, it's not about, literally getting crucified also.
Right.
It's like everyday sacrificing I would take that, like if I was still a Christian, I would take that to mean sacrificing for others every day. And then John's version,
is this the one that's only one
verse? Yeah. So, but it leads into a little bit of a rant because, I keep coming across
your rant or
mine.
Okay.
Because I keep coming across, we've mentioned this, we're following this timeline that, arbitrarily follows Luke, but it's so that we can keep all the stories straight and we're hitting the same stories, and comparing them against the different gospels who cannot agree on the order in which things happened at all.
Right. Because if we just went through it chapter by chapter, we would be talking about 4 different things constantly.
Yeah. And, some gospels are much shorter than the other gospels and stuff. So every time I get to one where I'm like, oh, we've got a John verse, because it's pretty rare, really. Like we're mostly hitting the synoptic gospels, which are the Matthew, Mark, and Luke. Mark was written first and the other 2 were based on that one. So they all kind of agree on a bunch of stuff. Anyway, John is this one that was written later, but rarely does the timeline really give me anything good to talk about with John, even when they bring it up. He really just remixed the other gospels. Like I have to ignore a lot of the connections this timeline we follow give to John because it's not even close to the same story.
Right.
And this is a good example of it because here's the verse that they point out. It just says, anyone who loves their life will lose it. Anyone who hates their life in this world will keep it for eternal life.
Oh, if you hate your life in this world, why would you want it for eternity?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's fucking terrible.
And really,
if you love your life, you're going to lose it. But if you hate your life, then you get to live that life for fucking ever.
Which is really a terrible thing. Again, a terrible thing to tell people. Like, it's not a bad thing to enjoy your life.
No.
Like, it should be a goal to enjoy your life.
Yes.
So that's the entire connection that it gives to that verse, right? It's something sort of similar that John said to these others, but the context is completely different. Like Jesus is days away from getting crucified, where this comes up in John. He's just arrived in Jerusalem, riding on an ass, and it's followed with this, which I'm sure we'll probably cover at some point anyway, but I just could not help but include this. Now my soul is troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour? No, it was for this very reason that I came to this hour. Father, glorify your name. This is a really fascinating thing about Jesus. He's scared of death.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah, he is half human.
Yeah. And that's a good point. Like that's what Christians would normally point to is this is his human half kind of being scared of death, right? Which I do not agree with. I think that's still, just putting blinders on to the fact like if this is actually God incarnate, he's not going to be scared of death. Anyway, that's what he's kind of getting across, right? And so that's pretty obvious.
Right.
Then a voice came from heaven. I have glorified it and will glorify it again. Crowd that was there and heard it said it thundered. Others said an angel had spoken to him. So conflicting stories, which is interesting. Jesus said, this voice was for your benefit, not mine.
Yeah. God doesn't need to, he can just, there's a direct line there.
Yeah.
You don't,
apparently.
We have conversations all the time.
Jesus is like, I know what's going on here.
Yeah.
I don't need to be filled in. Apparently you do.
Right.
You need to know that God has glorified his own name.
So really that's
whatever the fuck that means.
I thought God couldn't speak to humans without blowing up their brains.
I think that was just a dogma thing.
Well, isn't the Metatron, isn't that an actual thing in the Bible?
I don't think it's an actual thing in the Bible. I think, not to my knowledge, I've never come across a verse about the Metatron. But I think it's a thing in lore. So it's probably like one of the offshoot scriptures that isn't actually in the canon.
Okay.
So the voice is for your benefit, not mine. Now is the time for judgment on this world. Now the prince of this world will be driven out. And I, When I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself. He said this to show the kind of death he was going to die. So it's dramatic.
It's confusing.
It's dramatic, but it's totally different stories.
Yeah.
And John just steals lines from
Right.
these other gospels to flavor his own work, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of using it as like, in case anybody is out there being like, why does he never cover John? It's because there's no real good way to do it.
Right.
I do kind of feel like at some point
We should just do John.
just do John.
Let's
yeah.
just do John.
Yeah. Because it's gonna
Do
like
him.
really it's like from what I do read in John, it's better written and everything except for all the anti-Semitism. Like, that's the one downside to John is it is anti-Semitic.
I'm pretty sure Mein Kampf was also well written, terribly anti-Semitic.
Fair, yeah. So anyway, that's John's version.
All right.
Let's call it.
I do think that you reading that makes me feel like we do definitely need to just go through a John,
Yeah.
Couple episodes or 5 or however long it takes, just because it does seem like I want to hear more about that.
Yeah. He's got a bunch of stories that are not in the other gospels.
Right.
And I'm kind of surprised as we've gone through this, just how few we've covered through this timeline. Like I thought we were going to be getting more John
Right.
out of
Very
this.
little
but
John.
No.
Very little John.
Yeah. And then we get to one of the most important parts of Jesus's life. It's called the Transfiguration.
The Transfiguration.
That's right. So this is Matthew 17, 1 through 8, Mark 9, 2 through 10, and Luke 9, 28 through 36. Mark's version goes like this. After 6 days, so what we just covered with the whole talking to them about
Giving them the rules. All rule.
Yeah.
It's basically one rule. There's
Yeah.
one rule to being Jesus' disciple, and that's to
be Jesus's
be
disciple.
Jesus' disciple, and that's it.
Yeah. Sacrifice yourself for
Yeah.
Jesus, basically.
Do you think?
Even though Jesus was sacrificing himself for you,
Yeah, I mean, it shit rolls downhill.
I guess ultimately it will.
Do you think the disciples? So let's think of Jesus as a rock band. The disciples are less like groupies and more like roadies, right? Because they're doing work. And then anyone else that's following Jesus around would be a groupie.
Yeah, I mean, I might say that they're the backup band. They're the part of the band.
Yeah, I mean, roadies are important.
No, I'm not saying roadies aren't important. I'm just saying like maybe the women are the roadies.
No.
And then the men are like the fucking bass player and drum player and, the percussion section,
Right.
the 8 other guitarists. And Jesus is just the lead singer.
Right.
Right. He's the Scott Stapp. Right? Scott Stapp. Was that his
Are
name?
you talking about
From Creed?
Creed?
Yeah.
Did you pull that reference just because of their Christian band?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that would be like what Scott Stapp was going for.
Yeah, I would say so until he went nuts.
Yeah. I'm surprised he didn't have a beard. He seems like the kind of guy that would have had a beard, complete the Jesus look. Anyway, so 6 days after that whole thing, Jesus took Peter, James, and John with him and led them up a high mountain where they were all alone.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There he was transfigured before them. His clothes became dazzling white, whiter than anyone in the world could bleach them. And there appeared before them Elijah and Moses, who were talking with Jesus. Peter said to Jesus, "Rabbi, it is good for us to be here. Let us put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." And then it says in parentheses here, he did not know what to say. They were so frightened.
Jesus didn't know what to say because
No.
they were so frightened.
No, I think Peter didn't know what to say. So he was like, let me put up 3 shelters.
For these ghosts.
Yeah. And you.
And you, who never sleeps as far as I
Let me
can tell.
put up 3 shelters. Like what? Outhouses? Like
How long are we staying up here?
Yeah. Then a cloud appeared and covered them. A voice came from the cloud. "This is my son, whom I love. Listen to him." Suddenly, when they looked around, they no longer saw anyone with them except Jesus. As they were coming down the mountain, Jesus gave them orders not to tell anyone what they had seen. Not to tell anyone what they had seen. I'm doing this again. Not to tell anyone what they had seen until the Son of Man had risen from the dead. They kept the matter to themselves, discussing what rising from the dead meant. And I don't know why I upticked on that because that was the last sentence. So
what
they don't.
did they see?
So they saw Elijah and Moses with Jesus. And Jesus was dazzling white. In dazzling white. I do think this is where Jesus became white Jesus.
So that was
Elijah
the Transfiguration. He made his clothes whiter.
Yeah, I guess.
Well,
and then
worst
God
mutant ability of all time.
Yeah. And then God did the whole booming voice thing. This is my son with whom I love. Listen to him.
I mean,
and then
they already are and already know that information.
Yeah, I know. I was looking up like the significance of this or trying to find what the significance of the Transfiguration is, because I know that it is super significant, but I didn't remember what it meant. And the significance apparently is this is where God is saying he's on that level of Moses and Elijah, which really
he should be above Moses.
He should be above Moses and Elijah.
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah.
Right? This is God being a real dick dad. My son, I mean, he's fine. He's like these other two who are also great.
Right.
It's like if Trump had children. He does have children.
Right. Well, there are people who he thinks are his children.
Right.
So anyway, and then there's that whole bit though at the end where it's like until he told them not to say anything until he rises from the dead. And they're trying to figure out what rising from the dead means, even though he just explained it to him a week ago.
That he was going to die and then
rise again in 3 days. Yeah. So, but they're apparently have not.
It could be one of those things where he says it and everyone was just like, what? And then he says it again. And finally they're like,
are we serious about that?
Wait, so you dead then alive?
Right.
Also, like, I'm sorry. If like you're gonna transfigure something, literally you're just gonna make yourself shiny and white.
Right.
Like that's all you're gonna do. You could turn yourself into a whole different person.
Right. Yeah.
But you just bleach out your fucking wardrobe.
Yeah. Well, and so we're going to go through the other versions, and it's a little bit different in each one.
Okay.
And one thing I do want to call out, Moses may represent here the law, while Elijah represents the prophets. I don't know what significance there is to that, but when it comes to the Old Testament, that's pretty much the two main categories,
right.
The Old Testament, the law and the prophets. So it's just kind of this interesting thing that there's both of them, and they're there validating Jesus, right? Now, if you're a Christian and you've listened to episode 10 and you realize, well, maybe the Old Testament isn't quite as true as I thought it was. Maybe this story isn't true either, you know?
I mean,
like maybe that doesn't make any sense to have Moses and Elijah talking to Jesus, but
no, it makes it feel, I mean, I know Star Wars is kind of just a ripoff of the Jesus story really anyway, but you know, you have the spirits of the dead Jedi is always popping up.
Oh yeah. So
that's exactly what I fucking thought of.
This was Obi-Wan and Yoda showing up. Yeah. I think Elijah would have been Yoda probably.
Yeah, because I feel like Obi-Wan was definitely more of a rule. Now we're getting into Star Wars. Obi-Wan was more of a rule follower, and Yoda was definitely like more of a philosophy sort of type.
Yeah, I could see him be more prophet.
Yeah. Luke is Jesus in this scenario.
yeah. Which totally fits the whole thing.
Yeah.
And God is Darth Vader.
I think, well, no, I don't know who. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to get off track if we keep talking about Star Wars. Just go.
You think he was Hayden Christensen? God is Hayden Christensen?
No. Darth Vader was
Jar Jar Binks.
Darth Vader was evil and then turned at the very last minute.
Yeah.
To be good. So
God is the Emperor?
I think God is the midichlorians.
Yeah. That's actually true. That would make more sense. Kind of. So Darth Vader was I don't know, Joseph.
Satan.
Actually, really, he was
Judas.
Jesus more than anybody.
That's
because
true.
he was a virgin birth.
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah, Luke was not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luke was, yeah. So is Luke is Jesus' son.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is not a thing.
Not that we know of.
Right.
I
wish it was.
Anywho.
Cut all of that out.
No. So one thing I do want to point out is this is actually pretty similar to what God said at Jesus' baptism, right? When he split open the sky, the dove comes down and it says, "This is my son with whom I love, with whom I am well pleased," I think is what he said.
Right.
So it's interesting that it's like they borrowed from that story for the baptism story, you know, or vice versa for this. But it's basically the same thing twice. So again, what the fuck is the point of this if that happened, right? Anyway, Matthew's version is pretty similar, but after the booming voice, we get this. When the disciples heard this, they fell face down on the ground, terrified. But Jesus came and touched them. "Get up," he said. "Don't be afraid." When they looked up, they saw no one except Jesus. So just them
I'm just
getting
picturing
terrified.
them just like face planting
Yeah.
into the ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like fainting almost, right?
Right.
It had to have been.
Yeah.
How other way would you face plant into the ground out of terror?
Right.
Other than to just faint.
Right.
I really wish they would have just used the word faint. They fainted.
And then the Moses ghost and Elijah ghost just watch them.
Yeah. And then they're gone. They're like,
Yeah.
we're going to go. This is stupid.
All right. I guess I'll catch you later. Luke's version, quote, "It's about 8 days after Jesus had said all that, the rules and stuff." Yeah. So it's a difference in how long after. And then it says, as he was praying, so he goes up on the mountain to pray. As he was praying, the appearance of his face changed and his clothes became bright as a flash of lightning. So this is when he really became white Jesus.
His face changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they don't say how?
I mean, God.
No.
Magic.
No. Not how it changed.
Oh, in what way?
In what way it changed? Like, I get that it's God, Josh.
I don't know. Botox?
A lot of bunch of scorpions
Yeah.
sting him in the face.
Bees.
All fluffy.
Bees. Ate some shellfish. And turns out he's allergic. Continuing on with Luke's version, the rest of it's different. So I just kind of wanted to read it out. 2 men, Moses and Elijah, appeared in glorious splendor, talking with Jesus. They spoke about his departure, which he was about to bring to fulfillment at Jerusalem. Peter and his companions were very sleepy, but when they became fully awake, they saw his glory and the 2 men standing with him. As the men were leaving Jesus, Peter said to him, "Master, it is good for us to be here. Let us put up 3 shelters, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." In parentheses, it says, he did not know what he was saying.
This is the man that the temple is built on.
Yeah, the church.
The
is built
church.
on. While he was speaking, a cloud appeared and covered them, and they were afraid as they entered the cloud. A voice came from the cloud saying, "This is my son with whom I have chosen. Listen to him." When the voice, again, different wording, you would think with God, you would want to get that right.
Yeah.
When the voice had spoken, they found that Jesus was alone. The disciples kept this to themselves and did not tell anyone at that time what they had seen. So he doesn't tell them not to.
They just
talk.
don't want
They
to
just
because
don't.
they think everyone else will think that they're fucking
They'll
crazy.
all know that they peed their pants.
Yeah. And then Peter will be like, and I didn't know what to say. I just blurted out, "Let me build
3 shelters.
And everyone will be like, "What?"
Yeah. Which this version, I'm like, okay, I get it a little bit more where it's like, all right, it's late at night.
Yeah.
They were but still, it's
sleepy.
like, what are you going to build
Sleepy?
3 shelters? Like,
It's So, like, did Jesus go up there and pray, and everyone else was like, well, we're humans and tired, so we're going to sleep? And then Moses and Elijah showed up, and there was a big flash of light, or Jesus's clothes became a flashlight. So everyone was
there's a big swarm of bees.
Huh? What's going on? And, and then realized that there were ghosts there. And the first thing Peter thought of was to be like, let me build some shelters. And everyone looks at him like, why? Ghosts don't sleep, and Jesus is God. He doesn't sleep either.
Right.
So.
I have angels to cover me from the rain.
Oh, Peter.
Yeah. You have ghosts? Build them a shed with Sheds by Peter.
Good for all kinds of ghosts, such as Moses ghosts or Elijah ghosts.
Let's say you're out on a fishing boat in the middle of the night with several of your guy friends. You know, real normal like. And you see a ghost coming at you, walking on the water. What do?
You build them a shed.
You build them a shed with Sheds by Peter.
Let's say your buddy gets in trouble with the law and ends up crucified. You had yourself a real sad weekend. But it's Monday morning and you're on your way to work when he shows up with holes in his hands and feet. What do?
You build him a shed.
You build him a shed with
Sheds by Peter.
Do ghosts lie down in the sheds?
No, they stand up straight and stare at the bare walls.
What comfort.
Let's say you went on a spur-of-the-moment overnight hike with a few of your guy friends. You know, real normal like. And you wake up and one of your buddies is talking to a couple of ghosts. What do?
You build them a shed.
You build them tree sheds.
To make sure they got space for the comforts.
Buy now and say, get thee behind me, sales tax.
Use promo code BSFA at checkout to fit 10% more ghost in your shed.
Sheds by Peter is only available in the continental United States, the only country where you can believe in God, aliens, and ghosts with no sense of irony. So then we get to the demon-possessed boy.
Oh.
He comes down from the mountain. So this is Matthew.
Jesus comes down from the mountain.
Yeah, with everybody else. Not Elijah and Moses. They stayed up there. Yeah. So this is Matthew 17:14 through 21, Mark 9:14 through 29, Luke 9:37 through 43, and John 14:9. Mark's version, Jesus comes down from the mountain, sees the other disciples are arguing with teachers of the law, and he asks what they're arguing about. And it says, a man in the crowd answered, "Teacher, I brought you my son, who is possessed by a spirit that has robbed him of speech. Whenever it seizes him, it throws him to the ground. He foams at the mouth, gnashes his teeth, and becomes rigid.
Oh.
I asked your disciples to drive out the spirit, and they could not."
Yeah. You can't just get rid of epilepsy.
What's interesting is the timeline actually has that as the title for this, is that it's the epileptic boy. Yeah, it's interesting.
I didn't know demons caused epilepsy.
Yeah.
What? Why aren't doctors just bringing in priests to get...
Oh, there are people who would totally do that.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I fucking know.
So Jesus responds in just the most compassionate way he possibly can. "You unbelieving generation," Jesus replied, "how long shall I stay with you? How long shall I put up with you?
Oh, God. He's a
Bring
boomer.
the boy to me." He's a boomer. Yeah.
He basically
I don't know.
was just
We're all wondering how long you'll live too.
He's like fucking millennial.
Yeah. We're all just waiting for you to die too. So they brought the boy to him. When the spirit saw Jesus, it immediately threw the boy into convulsion. He fell to the ground and rolled around, foaming at the mouth. Jesus asked the boy's father, "How long has he been like this?" Oh, something Jesus doesn't know. You know?
Yeah.
Yet another example of imperfect knowledge after the Transfiguration, too. So this is like after.
Does he come back down all glowy and shit?
They don't say. It's probably not.
Yeah.
You know, like it's, you know, such a random story that they obviously shoehorned in there after he died, you know, because they knew how he was going to die.
Right.
But from childhood, he answered, it has often thrown him into fire or water to kill him. but if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us. If you can, said Jesus.
No.
Everything is possible with one who believes. Immediately, the boy's father exclaimed, I do believe. Help me overcome my unbelief.
I do believe. Help me overcome my unbelief.
Yeah, you're not actually believing then.
Right.
When Jesus saw that a crowd was running to the scene, he rebuked the impure spirit. You deaf and mute spirit, he said, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again.
Question.
Yeah.
The demon is deaf?
Yeah.
And mute? It says
at the beginning, he said, I brought you my son who is possessed by a spirit that has robbed him of speech.
Right.
But I don't think it ever says deaf.
But what you just said, deaf.
But he says deaf, yeah.
To the demon. The demon is deaf.
You deaf and mute spirit.
He's talking to a deaf demon?
I guess so. How is he talking to it? Is that what you're getting?
Yeah.
I think the demon is causing deafness, not that the demon itself is deaf.
Well, that's an ambiguous sentence.
I don't think a spirit could be deaf. I don't think a spirit could be.
Is that what we're calling demons now? Spirits?
They are. That's the idea. That they are on,
they were
on
all
that
fallen
realm.
angels.
They are, but like it's on that spiritual realm.
I see.
You know that make believe realm.
Yeah. They're preternatural.
So the spirit. And he said, "I command you, come out of him and never enter him again." The spirit shrieked, convulsed him violently, and came out. The boy looked so much like a corpse that many said, he's dead. But Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him to the feet, and he stood up. After Jesus had gone indoors, his disciples asked him privately, why couldn't we drive it out? He replied,
it's deaf.
This kind can come out only by prayer. At no point did he fucking pray.
No, he just told it to get out.
He just told it to get out.
Well, anything Jesus says is a prayer, right? Is that the insinuation? I mean,
apparently not when they say it, though.
Right. Well, they're not the Son of God, Josh.
I guess. Yeah.
Even though he gave them Son of God powers.
Right. Yeah. So it doesn't really make any sense. Like, this kind can only come out by prayer.
There's a lot of demon possession going on back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot.
There's a lot of epileptics back then.
A lot of epilepsy and, just basic maladies and mental illness, all kind of it's a demon.
It's a demon. Matthew's version is pretty similar, but shorter. And then there's this. Then the disciples came to Jesus in private and asked, why couldn't we drive it out? He replied, because you have so little faith. Truly, I tell you, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you. And we're going to hear him say this again. It's going to come up again.
Mustard seeds?
In the future. Well, moving mountains, specifically with faith.
The mustard seed came up prior. Before.
There was a parable of the mustard seed, that the kingdom of God was the mustard seed, which is the smallest seed on earth.
Yes, that's right.
And even though it's not.
Okay, so that one makes that explanation makes a little more sense.
Yeah,
he wasn't just like this one can only be driven out with prayer,
right?
Like, why didn't anybody just try praying over the boy? But this one is more like you guys are idiots and didn't.
You don't have enough faith.
You don't have enough faith.
Yeah,
even though literally you've been following me around for 15 years now.
Yeah, I mean this kicks off the excuse so many faith healers have used over the years of you just don't have enough faith. If you had even the faith of a mustard seed, you would be able to throw a mountain from here to there, and it's like, that's just nobody can do that. It would have been interesting if Jesus had been able to do that,
Yeah. I would have liked to see him
we
try.
would be able to
Hercules could do that.
Yeah, we would be able to geologically confirm that,
right. Question, if the disciples of Jesus, who literally have been physically witnessing all of the shit that he's been doing, some of whom have actually heard God and seen Christian ghosts.
Force ghosts.
Or Jewish ghosts, I guess. Yeah. And they don't have enough faith. What does anybody, how can anybody think that they possibly have more faith than that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like if Jesus is straight up like, none of you have enough faith.
Yeah.
And they're literally giving up their whole lives to follow him around.
Right. And they've seen him do all this stuff. Yeah.
Nobody in existence today
could have that kind of faith. Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Right. Yeah.
So like, why even?
I know. Yeah. It's like if there's a video game programmed to never be beaten.
Right.
Like it's literally impossible.
But people
to
keep
beat
trying
it, but
because
people-
they think
yeah.
they're going to be the one person
Yeah.
who thinks that they could.
Yeah. It's kind of like the definition of insanity.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
Yeah. Luke's version is pretty similar to Matthew's, but the disciples never ask why they couldn't cast out the demon. It just never occurs to them, I
They
guess.
just assumed that, Jesus.
Just Jesus.
It's Jesus.
Yeah. So then there's the second prediction of death. Mark's version, this is quick. I just threw in Mark's version on it. They left that place and passed through Galilee. Jesus did not want anyone to know where they were because he was teaching his disciples. He said to them, "The Son of Man is going to be delivered into the hands of men. They will kill him, and after 3 days he will rise." But they did not understand what he meant yet again, even though it's the third fucking time he's saying it, and were afraid to ask him about it.
Yeah. I get the feeling through a lot of these stories. Like sometimes I'm like, oh my God, Jesus is such an asshole. But after like I would be pissed off all the time too if I was dealing with
clearly very dense
fucking idiots.
Yeah.
Like obviously their idiocy is good because it leads them to like just blindly following him around the fucking earth. But also like that comes with the side effect of having to explain things to them over and over and over again.
Yep.
Which is irritating. Especially if you're like, all powerful, all knowing, although not all knowing, but all knowing person who literally is just like, I don't understand why it's like talking to somebody who has Asperger's, but also like 150 IQ.
Yeah.
And they just can't understand why other people don't know what they know.
Right. How can you not see colors?
Right.
Or see colors. How can you not see?
I was like, right.
Yeah.
How can you not taste colors?
How can you not see musical notes or something like that? People who have synesthesia and stuff.
Sure.
Yeah.
It confounds him that he literally has to keep explaining these simple concepts in his mind.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to die and come back to life 3 days after I die. And they're all like, what?
Yeah.
But literally, no one in their life has ever fucking done that. It's a hard concept. If you told me you were going to die and then come back to life in 3 days, I would be like, what?
Right.
My question wouldn't necessarily be like, what do you mean? It would be like,
what does that mean? Yeah.
Why do you think you're going to die? Why do you think you're coming back to life in 3 days?
Right.
And also, like, should we go to a doctor? Something might be wrong with you.
Isn't it interesting, though, that Jesus' family did that?
Yeah.
Tried to take charge of him.
In
the previous episode, we talked about that.
Yeah.
The next story is about an issue with temple tax. So again, we're just hitting the great stories, the really hard hitting ones,
Issue with temple tax.
Yeah. So this is Matthew 17:24 through 27. It goes like this. After Jesus and his disciples arrived in Capernaum, the collectors of the 2 drachma temple tax came to Peter and asked, "Doesn't your teacher pay the temple tax?" "Yes, he does," he replied. When Peter came into the house, don't know what house this is, Jesus was the first to speak. "What do you think, Simon?" Who he already named Peter and apparently forgot. "From whom do these kings of the earth collect duty and taxes? From their own children or from others?" "From others," Peter answered. "Then the children are exempt," Jesus said to him. "But so that we may not cause offense, go to the lake and throw out your line. Take the first fish you catch, open its mouth, and you will find a 4 drachma coin. Take it and give it to them for my tax and yours."
Well, that just sounds like a magic trick.
Yeah, I know.
What you don't know is the night before, Jesus went and caught a fish and shoved a fucking coin into its mouth.
Well, you caught a bunch of fish.
Put a coins in all of their mouths.
Just for this one thing. This payoff.
Literally, it's a lake with no fish in it. It's
Yeah,
one
there's
fish.
one fish. You're going to be there for a while, but just wait.
Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he just be like, "Oh, there's this coin behind your ear"?
Yeah. So guess what happens when Peter does this?
He gets swallowed by the fish.
No, we just never find out because they never actually.
Oh.
He never actually does it.
I'm sure he does. It's just you assume that he went and did it.
Yeah, I guess so.
Or else Jesus would have been arrested for not paying his temple tax.
I guess so. Yeah.
Is a temple I don't care. I was gonna ask what a temple tax does, but what do
Probably pays for the temple.
Yeah.
Probably pays the priests and stuff. Yeah. So the next one is, again, a pretty short one. It's the Stranger Exorcist is what I called it. So this is Mark 9, 38 through 41, and Luke 9, 49 through 50. Mark's version is, "Teacher," said John, "we saw someone driving out demons in your name, and we told him to stop because he is not one of us." "Do not stop him," Jesus said.
I was gonna say.
"For no one who does a miracle in my name can in the next moment say anything bad about me. For whoever is not against us is for us. Truly I tell you, anyone who gives you a cup of water in my name because you belong to the Messiah will certainly not lose their reward." So it's an interesting.
Well, it sounds like
philosophical
Jesus
verse.
really knows how cults work and his followers don't.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, no. That's what we want.
Yeah. Anybody. Literally anybody. And they're like, but just us. We're the important ones.
No, you're not. You're not. How often do I have to tell you you're idiots?
I've changed your name.
Yeah.
And I just
called you guys Sons of Thunder. You haven't lived up to that, have you?
Just picked you at random.
Yeah. You were the people I came across first.
Yeah. There was no divine intervention in me picking you. Literally, you were there. And you said yes. So
I love all of you equally, and I hate you.
Do we ever learn who this stranger exorcist is?
Nope. That's all we hear about him. It's just this one little story.
He is driving out demons.
In Jesus' name.
But the disciples don't ever drive out demons that we've heard.
No, I mean, they obviously failed at that one we just talked about. Yeah.
And they were supposed to go out and do it, and they haven't left his side.
They in theory went out and then returned, because we did talk about the return.
Very quickly.
But in the meantime, they had been there for the other stories too. So
yeah. Well, I think Jesus probably needs to figure out who that guy is and get him on board.
Right. Yeah. He seems to be doing more work than they are.
Right.
Yeah.
On his own.
Yeah.
With
I love all of you equally. I love him more.
Yeah. He has initiative.
Yeah.
His Thetan levels are real high.
Thetan levels. Turns out Scientologists were right all along. The cost of following Jesus.
Oh.
So this kind of goes along with what we were talking about earlier with the, having to forsake all other things.
I thought you were just going to leave it at
This goes along with what we were talking about earlier. Jesus. So this is Matthew 8, 18 through 22 and Luke 9, 57 through 62. Luke's version goes like this. As they were walking along the road, a man said to him, "I will follow you wherever you go." Jesus replied, "Foxes have dens and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head." He said to another man, "Follow me." But he replied, "Lord, first let me go bury my father." Jesus said to him, "Let the dead bury their own dead."
What the fuck?
Yeah. "But you go and proclaim the kingdom of God." Still another said, "I will follow you, Lord, but first let me go back and say goodbye to my family." Jesus replied, "No one who puts a hand to the plow and looks back is fit for service in the kingdom of God." And then I'll just say Matthew's version is pretty similar, except it doesn't have the say goodbye to my family part and the hand in the plow part. That's just not in Matthew version.
So the first guy was like, I will follow you anywhere, Jesus.
Yeah.
And I assume had a real manic look on his face when he said it. And Jesus was like,
Yeah,
maybe not you.
Yeah. I don't think it's gonna. It's not that fun. It's not that fun.
We don't ever sleep.
Yeah, we don't. We can't ever
There's
lay
no
our heads
beds.
down.
Rocks. We sleep on rocks.
Yeah.
I sleep on Peter. He's my rock.
But
Everyone
hey,
else sleeps on actual.
but hey, you should follow me.
Yes. But my
I have
dad,
to go. Yeah.
my dad just died. I have to go bury him. Oh, the dead will bury the dead. It's fine.
What does that mean?
And you are, I'll follow you, Jesus. But I have to go say goodbye to my family first. Fuck your family.
Yeah. Fuck your family. Fuck your family.
Did you tell me you were going out for smokes? Then you're fine.
Yeah.
That's where that started.
That's what my dad did. Which one? Joseph. It's weird. It's another one where it's like the entire moral of this is to like the most important thing is to be a Christian. And it's like, is that really the most important thing?
No.
Is it really
It's
that
not.
it's just to follow Jesus is the most
No.
important thing? Or is it actually like being a better person
Yeah.
that's more important? You know?
And for like a person who's literally his whole thing is being the son of somebody,
Yeah.
like he doesn't put a whole lot of emphasis on family. But like his whole personality is that he's the son of God. The son of God.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
But he's telling all of these fathers to fuck off.
Yeah.
And
Leave
forget
their
their family.
kids.
And the whole time he's like, my dad.
Yeah.
Have you guys met my dad? God?
Right.
Like, my dad. I'm here for my dad.
Right.
Do you guys hear my dad? I'm the son of man, but that means God.
Right.
Those are the ones where I'm like, Jesus is an asshole.
I've got an ongoing list of verses.
Of Jesus is an asshole verses.
Yeah.
Nice.
The last story I wanted to cover is the sending of the 72. So this is Matthew 9:35 through Matthew 10:6. Again,
Jumping
over to the chapter. Yeah. And then Luke 10:1 through 16. Luke's version goes like this. After the Lord appointed 72 others and sent them out 2 by 2 ahead of him to every town and place where he was about to go, he said to them, the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field.
This is a metaphor. Why is he gotta keep using, like, no wonder people are like, what?
Yeah.
Like, just be straight about what you're saying.
We're going to go out recruiting.
Yeah.
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 We need more members of our apocalyptic cult.
So like half of these people went out and did that. And half of those people went out and talked to people about harvests.
They took it literally.
Right, because there's an average,
They took it literally.
There's an average intelligence.
There's a harvest and we need workers for the harvest. What are you harvesting?
There's an average intelligence. Half of the people are above average. Half of the people are below average. So half of the people were like, we get it. It's a metaphor. You want us to go spread the word of God and recruit people.
You're assuming that the people that he's talking to are of the half that would believe it, like would understand,
one can
that even half of them.
That if you have a group of people, half are above average intelligence, half are below. We're going to go with that presumption. We're just going to go with that presumption. 72 is a big number. So you could just, even if it's not half, some of those people understood the metaphor.
Right. Sure.
Some of those people went into villages and was like, your guys' harvest is awesome this year. Do you have enough people to work it?
Yeah.
Maybe we should go find more.
Yeah.
And they come back with wheat and Jesus is like, what the fuck?
This is how we get into the kingdom of God, right? Wheat. God wants wheat.
And Jesus is just like, oh, God, why did you send me down here?
And God's like, what?
You made these people. What happened? Well, I made a couple and then they bred.
You asked for more responsibility and I gave it to you.
Maybe stop using so many metaphors. I was very clear in the Old Testament.
I was straightforward with them because they are so stupid. Stop acting like they're smarter than you think they are.
That's the real failure here. Jesus just has too much faith in humanity.
Yeah.
It's not the other way around. He just expects too much.
Yeah. I didn't speak in metaphors. I just killed a bunch of them, and then they got it.
And when they were good,
Have you tried killing a bunch of people? That's my go-to move.
And when they were good, I sent them food from the clouds.
Yeah. Have you tried giving them cloud food? So anyway, yeah, Jesus goes into a bunch of rules at this point to the 72 that are very similar to when he sent out the 12 about, all that stuff.
Only going and talking to
people who
believe already.
Yeah, kind of something like
Preaching
that.
to the go preach
like
to the
when,
choir.
when you're living at a place, don't take anything with you and all that kind of stuff.
Don't ask for anything.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing he said, when you are invited into somebody's house and everything, stay there, eating and drinking whatever they give you, for the worker deserves his wages. Do not move around from house to house. So basically, like, I was just picturing like somebody being like, welcome.
Here's some onion.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad to see some Jesus followers here. Of course you can stay. I've just laid out some poisoned wine and bread. Start eating. Like
I'm not supposed to go house to house, but I haven't technically stopped yet. So I'm just going to go for the next one.
I haven't sat down.
Yeah.
So let's.
I haven't accepted your hospitality yet. So
yeah,
I'm going to keep on moving.
And then Jesus starts calling out some specific towns. He goes, woe to you, Chorazin. Woe to you, Bethsaida. For if the miracles that were performed in you had been performed in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago, sitting in sackcloth and ashes. I guess that's a good thing, to repent and sit in sackcloth and ashes. But it will be more bearable for Tyre and Sidon at the judgment than for you. And you, Capernaum, will you be lifted to the heavens? No, you will go down to Hades, which is interesting because I feel like he keeps going to Capernaum and like it's.
Does he say Hades?
Yeah.
Isn't that
It's a Greek thing.
It's a Greek term.
Yeah.
So he believes in the Greek mythology?
It's hell. It's like, it's probably the word that they were using back then for it. But I mean,
So he's
like, because at some point this got translated and all
sure.
that kind of stuff. And
Sure.
yeah.
I'd like to think that
he
Jesus
didn't say any of
believes
this.
in Greek mythology.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad, Thor.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that's Norse.
That's Norse mythology. My dad, Zeus.
Zeus. Yeah.
So basically, this is while he's talking to the 72 still. So is he advising them to like avoid these places then? Because they're beyond saving?
He's not really saying it to them. He's just like, fucking Capernaum.
Places.
Yeah. Like, I guess.
These dens of sin who were given the opportunity to turn to me and didn't. It sounds to me like he's pointing out the fun places to go.
I know. Yeah. It might be. Yeah.
Guys, don't go here.
These are the places that have rejected me, if you know what I mean.
I really think I can save the people in that place, though. So I might go there.
Yeah. Might go to Las Vegas. Then immediately after he's done saying all this stuff to them, we get this. The 72 returned with joy. So they're already back.
Wow. And it doesn't tell you how much time has elapsed.
No. But I mean, it literally happened right after that.
Well, and he's still alive, and his death is coming up pretty soon, so it couldn't have been that much time.
So the 72 returned with joy and said, Lord, even the demons submit to us in your name. And he said, well, you're better than the first 12 I had. No.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Ugh.
He replied, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. I have given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions and to overcome all the power of the enemy. Nothing will harm you. However, do not rejoice that the spirits submit to you, but rejoice that your names are written in heaven.
Are they? Not in the Bible, though.
Written in heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't get the names
of
any of these 72.
No.
No, but
luckily heaven has their names.
Yeah. There's documentation on
like
them
a
in
wall.
heaven.
There's like a wall in heaven that has all of these names.
The 72. There's like the 12,
then the 72,
which is written in crayon. There's the 72. Simon crossed out Peter.
Under the two guys that are in the Sons of Thunder, it literally in parentheses says Sons of Thunder.
There's like cartoon lightning bolts. This whole like nice like monumental wall to the 72.
All etched in stone and shit. Yeah.
The 12 are just like tacked onto God's refrigerator.
Like the wall for the 72 went up first, and then one of the disciples got up to heaven and was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna draw my own.
But it wasn't Peter, because whoever it was wrote Simon, and then when Peter got up there, he crossed out Simon.
Peter. Matthew's version of this is literally just the bit about the harvest is plentiful and all that stuff. That harvest analogy, that's pretty much the entire thing.
Okay.
Doesn't mention anything about the 72. All of that stuff is just in Luke.
Oh, so he's talking and we have no, he's
just talking to the disciples about the harvest is nigh.
Right.
But there's no workers. So that sucks.
Yeah. He doesn't even say like go out.
Yeah. I think they were talking about going out and stuff, but it wasn't like there was no 72 people. So
72 would get it done faster.
Yeah. So that's it kind of for this episode. Coming up though, we got some interesting stuff coming up. So we've got a well-known parable that you've probably even heard of coming up next. And then also some more about Mary and Martha. And we get to the Lord's Prayer coming up.
Oh, the Our Father?
Yeah. Don't spoil it.
Everyone knows, everyone who listens to this, even me, knows what the Lord's Prayer is. It's the only prayer I remember.
It's actually probably way more familiar to Catholics than it is any other Christians.
For sure. We say it all the time.
Yeah.
We.
So that stuff is coming up, but they all live miserably ever after. Thank you so much for checking out our podcast. Help us spread the good news and keep this going by sharing the show with a friend or leaving a review to help others find us. And we'll talk to you next time.
This episode of Bible Stories for Atheists is sponsored by Topo Chico. Topo Chico, do you love your mineral water with alcohol in it?
An unauthorized, unpaid advertisement.
Taste the Chico. Which means boy in Spanish.
Okay. Taste the boy.